So welcome everybody this afternoon. This, I think, is our 6th week since October the 7th that we've been running a Sunday afternoon event with guests from Israel and other places around the world, and a number of you have been with us a number of times, which is good to see, and a few we see every now and again. So we're just trying to bring everybody up to date. Ross is in New Zealand. Welcome again, Ross, from NZ. And yes, we try to keep people up to date with what is happening. I think, Etan, we may talk a little to start with, just about the return of the hostages, which I don't know if everybody's been watching. But was that... Did I see, I'm just trying to see, any of the hostages returned that we know of, Etan? Did you see the list?
Yes. First of all, thank you again, all of you, for joining. That's the most important thing, that everyone makes a pause during beautiful Sunday. And joining the update. It's not obvious, and I from my point of view, I really appreciate it very much, because what you see here is a major interest in what's happening at the moment in the Middle East, and B, and I think that's the most thing, is that most important is that we are all sisters and brothers, and therefore every one of us is showing a major depth of thinking, and also trying to understand what exactly happens on the ground of the Holy Land. And this is, for all of us, the Holy Land. And it's very important to digest what happens since Simchat Torah, since the Shabbat, or as we call it, the Black Shabbat of 7th of October this year. It's a phenomena, and we have here also Rabbi Isaac Riesenberg. Thank you so much for coming and being a partner to this effort to be, as much as we can, dealing with, I would say, with the swiftness of information coming. We need to be racecourse drivers to follow the events at the moment, and there are all the time changes, there are delays, there is, in a way, a game that is involved psychology, I would say even psychiatry, and approach, and not to mention the heart and the soul of those who are involved directly. And we need to be majorly genius and thinking both sides. If you ask me what the Israelis are doing, there are many on duty watching Al Jazeera. So you have to understand, the Israelis are not talking to the converted. They're talking A, to themselves on the mirror, and B, and checking where went wrong, or what went wrong. And on the other hand, we wanted to understand exactly the thinking of, call it the enemy, call it the neighbor, call it trying to understand also the struggle of the other side and those who are innocent. So all in all, we have to be 100% sure that we are responsible thinkers, and you see outside Israel, bias to here, bias to there. Everyone tries to prevent and protect. But I would like to speak more about the here and now. And when I've been asked by John to tell you a little bit about the hostages, we don't have to forget the Holocaust between 1939 and 1945, 1939 to 1945, which is taught to every kid in Germany, to understand the legacy of the generations of this time in life. On the other hand, we are 100% sure that the 7th of October was an event for every humankind to consider and to try to avoid in the future. So it is not to do with Israeli-Palestinian affair. It's to do with the power of a human being to such level of hatred. You have to understand that. This is very important, to understand how preaching can take a person with drugs, without drugs. Let's not feed ourselves with gossips. We will have committees, we'll have commissions, we'll have investigations after the war, and we'll know exactly what happened. The Israeli democracy provides the world with absolute transparency, with all the respect to confidentiality that you need in order to protect yourself. You need to also take into consideration that if you want really to learn from the experience, you have to be absolutely transparent and also, of course, watch yourself in the mirror, as I mentioned before. And speaking about most important now, with the return of the second phase of returnees, we have the 13 the day before yesterday, and we had this morning in Australia and last night in Israel. We were waiting for 13 more, in fact 14, with one severely injured young lady who went to the Nova party, who is an addition to the agreed approach to bring elderly and mothers and their children. And the whole idea is to discuss the return of 13 children and mothers. And again, I just want to be precise, 8 children now, and 4 mothers, and 1 grandma. And the grandma, at least one here on the screen, is Alan, who's not on the screen, he's only hidden. It's only his smiley face here. But if he will show himself, I can ask him to maybe say a word to all of you. Alan, would you unmute and open your face? Thank you. And Karen is here, is nice. So we had a very good conversation with Dr. Shoshan Haran. Shoshan Haran is back, with God help, back with a daughter and granddaughter, from, not to mention that her sister, Lilach, as we say, the late Lilach, her sister who was killed, her daughter and 2 children came as well back. And Shoshan lost her husband, Avshalom. Avshalom's brother, Ronen, lives in Melbourne, in Ormond, and he already felt that something good is happening, so he took a flight and went on Friday to Israel to welcome them. So he was in Israel now, and I just spoke with his wife, Galia, here in Melbourne, and she told me the process at the moment with unbelievable support by psychologists, especially with the kids, because that's a very important item to consider. I have my close friend, Ahal Besorai, who lost his sister, Yonat, and their children. Yonat and Dror, who is unidentified, or no one knows where he is, he's missing. The 2 kids, Noam and Alma, are back, and they had to hear that their mother is not alive. So there was a major session there last night, about midnight. When you take into consideration the 8 hours between 4 p.m., the agreed time with the Hamas to have them back, and the 8 hours waiting for all the nation in Israel to know what will be the destiny of the 13 or 14 people we are having. And I would say that God is with us, and let's open, and always don't forget the destiny of 195, to be precise, 195 abductees were still there. Alan, can you just quickly tell everyone, because we don't have enough time, but can you tell, in 15 minutes we'll have Professor שוסיוב joining us, but meanwhile, Alan, can you tell about Fair Planet and what exactly Shoshan has done and what she's doing in Africa and other continents, and maybe shortly the story about Bougainville and why you needed Yonah to join your initiative in Bougainville. And I would say that maybe her part in this unbelievable help and support for the third world brought the Americans to understand that you can't really make discrimination, but at least someone so dear and an unbelievable world figure in agriculture would be one of the freed. She's 67. Please, Alan.
Yeah, thanks, Eitan. Well, Eitan was able to get Shoshan to come on to one of the calls that we had in relation to Bougainville. So she has, with Fair Planet, been able to help African countries be able to improve their agriculture, be able to improve their turnover in agriculture through the sort of seed production and the quality of seeds that Israel produces. They've been able to go out to African nations and be able to really make a big difference in various different countries. I can't remember which countries they were, Eitan, but
Tanzania, Kenya, and Ethiopia. And Ethiopia, she's the dearest person in Agri in Ethiopia.
And so they've made a big difference in the food production in those countries. And so we obviously, Karen and I are off to Bougainville in 2 weeks' time to see just what is happening over there. And Shoshan came on with Eitan and a number of us looking at what we can help with the area of agriculture there. And so she really was great, talking with Alex, one of the guys that are looking at doing the cocoa production there and for chocolate, and looking at other types of seeds, other types of things that they can do. So she was very helpful, very supportive of the vision, and obviously has a real heart for the nations, to help smaller countries and different countries really be successful with their food production, with their agriculture. So obviously, of what they're doing, they've been doing it for quite some time. And it was very sad to hear that she was captured and she lost, it was a husband and her daughter, wasn't it, Eitan?
Her husband was killed, her sister was killed.
Sister, sorry, yeah. And she was taken off to Gaza, and so, we're waiting to find out. In fact, Alex just asked me the other day if we hadn't heard anything. So yeah, it's
if you can see the picture here. Thanks, Alan, for 1 second. When you see the markets here, all those tomatoes you see on the picture here, it's all seeds from Israel that she took in a suitcase. She brings the seeds, and she teaches farmers in the rural areas in Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya, to grow and sell in their own markets, in the villages. So she has made, as we say, a major mitzvah for people who didn't know really how to sell, who didn't know how to really grow a mass production. And here you can see, and I can put the link if you like to read a little bit about Fair Planet. I'll just put it here on the chat for you. It's all about bringing seeds from Israel, sponsored by seed companies, and it was supported by the Dutch government, which is really something special. That she is, no question about it, she is a major world figure helping third world.
You can stop share now, Tom.
Yes. Yes, I'll just stop share.
That's better.
That's it. Sorry about it.
Yeah. So that you post in the chat the Fair Planet, if you can, you've copied it.
Yes, I'll do it now.
So that's good news that she has returned.
She has returned, and
it's great.
She has returned, and she's now hearing first time that she won't see her husband anymore, and her sister. And again, what I think I will probably finish with my time and leave you, John, to say a few words as well. I would like to just say something I think very important. We are working, and I think I mentioned it to the first meeting, we are working on a platform to react to media war triggered by Hamas atrocities. We are working here with consuls, with honorary consul of Germany in Victoria. I'm sure you know, with all the mentioning of the Shoah or the Holocaust, we have always to take into consideration that Germany today is the best friend of Israel, of the state of Israel. Best friend. You're talking about USA. Yes, USA is a, as we say, bat Brit. She is, and Rabbi know what bat Brit is. But if you speak about support at a given time, there's no question, and a president or a president of the German Republic, Steinheimer, is on his way to Israel now to share the pain together with the leadership and, of course, with the people of Israel. But immediately, the consul, honorary consul of Germany is there. We have doctors. We are talking to communities in Victoria to create with us together a baby-born explanation, I would say, and precision element to tell the world, made in Australia, to tell the world, and we will send it to the global Israeli leadership representatives worldwide, to try and instill the message that is on the way to permanent peace. We are all talking about the message on the way to permanent peace. We are not speaking about punishing each other. We are talking about eliminating the obvious, and the obvious is Hamas. Today, I hear that not only America or Europe would like to end the Hamas reign in the Gaza area, but also Qatar wants Hamas to be at the end of these activities, and once and forever. So what we need is to be sure that we tell precision, we tell real information. We are not fighting here for bias, who wins. Victory is not the issue. The issue is the future. The issue is the day after. The issue is the young generations of both sides. The issue is how you deal with education, what will be on the curriculum later on, and how we avoid projects like asking an Israeli kid, can you paint a Palestinian, or can you draw a Palestinian, or asking a Palestinian kid, can you please, and then the result is hatred. We don't want hatred. We want to fix the situation and try and see that we are going into, let's say it honestly, a new Middle East. That's the main item.
Peaceful.
John, absolutely.
So that's good. I've just been going through the names of the hostages released, and I think a family from Be'eri Kibbutz has been released as well, which is great news, and a number from near Kibbutz have come out. So that's really good news. Wonderful. I'm just going to
maybe, sorry for a second, maybe just to give you a little bit of, as you say, pepper, a bit of sugar into our taste. 1,500 kids were born in Israel since the 7th of October. Do you know what are the most popular names for the kids? The majority of the kids? Okay, so one is Oz, the other one is Nir, and the third one is Be'eri.
Oh, wow. Goodness gracious me. Yeah, all in remembrance. Fantastic. That's wonderful.
So newborn, new future.
Yeah, newborn, new future. While we've got the rabbi here, I was just going to ask the rabbi, because I know in Melbourne there are a number of people who couldn't make it this afternoon because there's a rally in the park. Is that right?
Yes.
Rabbi?
Yes, John.
Yep. And I presume there'll be hundreds there, which is good.
Yes.
It's up in Caulfield Park?
Yeah, it's just across the road from us again.
Okay.
Yeah, there's something going on every week. There's I just saw that I posted it on our group. There's a walk for unity coming up as well. Look, it's quite incredible that these spontaneous events are just coming from individual people to show solidarity with Israel. I mean, case in point is what we've just spoken about, but literally every weekend we've got something. Just Friday, was it Thursday, I walked out of my house, all of a sudden there are cars with Israeli flags zooming past. So there was probably about 50 cars with large flags just went around the neighborhood. I mean, this is just really quite spontaneous, organized by individuals, but really showing solidarity with Israel and really showing we want all the hostages to come out safely, and yeah, please God, that should happen.
It's wonderful, fantastic. And thank you for coming on again. And as many of you know, the rabbi and I will, next Tuesday night, we have our monthly SCAFI meeting. If you're not on the list, please just text me or email me and we'll add you to the list. But we have 3 speakers next week just to, we've got Mark Jury, the Reverend, who's an expert on the history of Hamas and all of the Palestinian. We've got, who else have we got?
Michael Danby.
Michael Danby, and Anne Ayelion from Magen David Adom, who we had as a guest last week on here, but she'll be in the bigger picture. So we invite you to be. Now I can see Professor Oded has joined us, Etan, so we might as well get on and introduce him and get him on the screen, because it's some of us know him. Alan, I think Jenny has met him before, and people who've been to Israel with us beforehand, but it's wonderful to have you with us, Professor. So over to you, Etan, to introduce him.
You could introduce him, it doesn't matter. Okay,
No,
I'll introduce him.
You know him better. You've walked with him a long time.
Okay, so, hi Oded. Professor Oded שוסיוב is an Israeli serial inventor, scholar, and author who is a distinguished professor of protein engineering and nanobiotechnology at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. In the frame of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, we visited Oded in his boardroom, at his lab in the past. Oded is a leading expert in nanobiotechnology. Notably, he has published over 350 scientific publications and over 100 patents to his name. He has dedicated his entire career to harnessing the power of nature's DNA code to create innovative solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems. I asked Oded to tell us not only about his expertise that we have experienced in the past, but also, however, also a little bit about the situation in Israel, Startup Nation. Please, Oded.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you very much for attending this meeting. I'm really honored to speak with you. Here in Israel, as I'm sure you know, we're having terrible times. But on the other hand, life continue, and the research continue, and science continue. And I will share with you some of the things that we have been done, and we're still doing to promote science. But I will definitely connect everything, I think, towards the end of my presentation with the situation and the bond that I feel we and you share, and the values that here in Israel we share with you in Australia, and the free world. So I will try now to just a second to share the screen. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So can you see the screen now? Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So the title of my talk is the plant age materials for the future, nature's gift. And please remember nature's gift, because this will become evident at the end, that this is the one thing that bond us together with you. But before I start, I like to quote the former Minister of Oil of Saudi Arabia, that said something very smart in the past. He said that the Stone Age did not end for lack of stone, and the oil age will end long before the world runs out of oil. And I think that is absolutely right, because biomaterials are so much better. But we should not criticize our scientists for not making really good synthetic materials from oil, simply because we didn't have enough time, while nature had billions of years of evolution to develop some of the most amazing materials that we wish we had in our possession. Yet orthopedic surgeons in particular like to introduce synthetic implants in our body, and I don't think that this is a great idea to glue and screw synthetic materials into our body. And why is that? Because synthetic materials fail. They fail just like this plastic fork that is not good enough for its performance. But admittedly, there are quite strong synthetic materials, but yet it's still not a good idea to introduce them into our body because their biomechanical properties do not really fit the surrounding tissue, and that's why they fail. And there is even more fundamental reason why they fail, and that's because in nature, things are done differently. In nature, no one takes my head and screw it into my neck, or take my skin and glue it onto my body. In nature, everything is self-assembled. All living organisms are actually made from cells that contain DNA, and the DNA encodes for nanobio building blocks that encodes for materials such as proteins, fatty acids, and so on, that are produced by enzymes. And these materials do not really need us. They recognize each other and self-assemble into scaffolds on which cells are growing and proliferating, organizing into tissues. The tissues are organized into organs, and the organs together makes the organism or life. So we at the Hebrew University, about 20 years ago, we decided to focus on probably the most important nanobiomaterial for us, for human beings, and that's collagen. Collagen is a protein that accounts for about 30% of our dry weight. I'll give you a few examples. Bone is about 50% collagen, percent minerals. My skin is about 70% collagen. Tendons and ligaments are close to 100% collagen. So I always like to say that anyone who is in the business of replacement parts for human being would like to have collagen. But admittedly, even before we started our research, there were already in the clinic, in the marketplace, more than 1,000 different medical implants which are made of collagen. You know, simple things like dermal fillers to reduce wrinkles. You can see on the left here, artificial meniscus, bone grafts, and even leaflets for heart valves, all made of collagen. So you should ask me probably, well, then what's the big deal? I mean, you just said that before you started the research, there were so many different medical implants made of collagen in the marketplace. Well, the reason for that is that up until recently, the source of all these collagen products was dead bodies, dead pigs, dead cows, and human cadaver. And that's not a very safe source because they all potentially harbor human pathogens like viruses, mad cow disease, you name it. In fact, the FDA already in 2007 made a notice asking the companies to start and look for better and safer alternatives. So that's exactly what we did. We cloned all the 5 human genes from human that are responsible in our body to make human collagen and introduced all these 5 human genes into a single tobacco plant. Now, plants do not know how to make collagen because this is a mammalian protein, but now when we introduce the genetic code, all of a sudden, these plants can make human collagen. So in Israel today, we grow about 25,000 square meters of greenhouses all over the country with these tobacco plants from the Upper Galilee in the middle of the country, in the southern part, and also, by the way, in Netiva Asara. Netiva Asara is one of the kibbutzim that was attacked in October 7th, and really suffered a lot of casualties. And you can see here these plants, they grow, they look like regular plants, but contain these 5 human genes that makes human collagen in their leaves. After 50 to 60 days, we harvest the leaves. The leaves are transported by cooling trucks to the factory in the Upper Galilee, where we start the extraction. Now, if you ever made pesto, you know how to make collagen, essentially the same process. You crush the leaves with some buffer, get the juice, concentrate the protein, and the concentrated protein goes to here, to the Rehovot Science Park, across the street from my university. And in the Science Park, in clean rooms, they purify it. And the end product is collagen, which is identical to what we have in our body, except better. Why is it better? First of all, it is not extracted from old used tissue. It is brand new, produced in the plant. So its 3-dimensional structure is close to perfect. In addition, plants do not harbor human pathogens, so it is more safe. And from that collagen, we make different medical implants that are ready. 2 of them completed clinical trials, got the regulatory approvals, and are sold mainly in Western Europe, like in Germany, Switzerland, England, France, of course in Israel, and also in some countries in the Asia Pacific region. So I'm going to share with you one product that we developed. This was actually the first product. they're indicated for diabetic foot ulcer. Diabetes, I think, needs no introduction. Everybody know what is diabetes, except maybe you may not know that it affects more than 400 million people in the world. That's a huge disease. And 20% out of patients that suffer from diabetes will experience at least once in their life a diabetic foot ulcer. If we fail to cure this the ulcer, it ends up in amputation. And the number of amputations are huge. 1 million amputations per year, which means that every 30 seconds, someone in the world is losing either the toe or the entire foot. So it's a really major problem. So this is the product that we developed. What the doctor is doing actually is debribing the dead cells from the ulcer, inject it into the wound bed, and fill it with the human collagen that was produced by us in the plant. Now something really nice happens. The cells in the periphery of the wound, they recognize the collagen because that's their natural scaffold. So they attach to it and get a signal, tells them, hey guys, this is the right spot, start to proliferate. And they proliferate, makes a granulation tissue. Once reach the level of the skin, they actually cure the skin. And this is really quite a successful product. I'm going to share with you one picture that we got from Italy, from one of the doctors that is doing the research and actually the treatment today with this product. On the left-hand side, you can see the back of the heel of a 64-year-old patient with a neuropathic leg. Actually, this hole goes all the way to the bone. And typically, it will end up in amputation here because this particular case did not respond to any treatment for 2 years. So as a last resort, the doctor decided to treat with the human collagen. And you can see 3 months later on the right-hand side, a full recovery. And actually, he can play now football. It's really amazing. Sequoia trees are also really amazing, nature's gift. You know, these trees, they stand there cold weather, hot weather, UV light, for hundreds of years, carry hundreds of tons. I'm not familiar with any plastic chair that can survive such harsh conditions. Yet, if you look at the tree trunk by high-resolution electron microscope, you find out that it's actually made of nanofibers, which are about 100 nanometer in length and 5 nanometer in width. Now, everybody talk about nano, but just to give you a feel, my hair is about 100 micron. If I take one hair and I slice it 100 times, and I take one slice, and that slice I now slice another 1,000 times, this is 1 nano. So it's really, really tiny, but it has highly crystalline fashion and is very, very strong, just like diamond crystal. And surprisingly, despite the fact that it is so strong, it's made of sugar. Well, not exactly the same sugar we drink in our tea, but nevertheless, it's a polymer that is made of sugar that at the end gives us a material that is almost 10 times stronger than steel, yet it's made of sugar. So companies and analysts all over the world believe that this new material, cellulose nanocrystal, is going to be one of the most important materials for the future of our planet. Now, if you wanted to buy, let's say 10 years ago, half a ton of nanocellulose, that's the name of the material, nanocellulose, You could Google, eBay, you could Alibaba, you couldn't find it. I mean, you would find many scientific papers coming from my group, from other scientists all over the world saying this is a great material, but there was no commercial source for that. So we at the Hebrew University, together with partners from Sweden, Finland, Germany, and Italy, established a consortium. And the idea was actually to develop a cost-effective material for us to use as nanocellulose, but in a commercial scale. So the first thing we were looking for was a source of raw material. Obviously, we didn't want to cut sequoia trees, but we identified a good source, and that's the sludge of the recycled paper industry. One reason why it's a good source is because we have plenty of that. In fact, this sludge practically covers our continents. Europe alone produces 11 million tons of that waste annually. So for everyone, it's an environmental problem. For us, it's a great source of raw material. So Melodia was actually was established. It's an Israeli company together with our Swedish partners. And today in Israel, we have the first and actually only cellulose nanocrystal manufacturing plant in Europe and the Middle East. And the nice thing about this nanocellulose, if you suspend it in water, once you reach a concentration of about 2.5%, 3%, it makes liquid crystals. And when you apply this liquid crystal on any surface, can be paper or concrete or wood, whatever, it will self-assemble into a very strong and transparent material, which has excellent oxygen barrier properties that can replace plastics for food packaging. This is a study we've done with Quaker Oats. Quaker Oats is a division of PepsiCo. I'm sure you're familiar with the product, where we showed that on the right-hand side, this is our pouch, which is made of paper, just coated with the nanocellulose formulation. We outperformed the plastic, a metallized plastic a product, which is of course polluting. And our material, you can simply put it in the ground and it will decompose by itself. So you don't even have to recycle it. And hopefully, using this technology, we'll be able to avoid these scenes that we have in the world from overuse of plastic that is polluting the environment. Now, I would like to share with you something which I think is interesting. Typically, I end my presentation in a very different slide, and I will get to that in a second. But 106 years ago, this events happened in Israel. This was in 1917, the Battle of Beersheba, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, because at the same day, Gaza was attacked by the British, and on the same day, the Australian Light Horse battalion actually attacked Beersheba with the effort to free Palestine from the Turks. So history actually repeats itself, unfortunately. This is a picture that was taken in October 7th, about a month ago. On the left hand, you can see this woman with her two children kidnapped to Gaza. And on the right-hand side, this old, really nice woman that is taken hostage to Gaza by these terrorists, the Hamas terrorists. I'm so glad to say that this very nice woman is with us again. She was returned to Israel 2 days ago after Israel invaded Gaza and actually put pressure on the Hamas that released her in the exchange deal that was struck a few days ago. But this woman is, and these babies are still held hostages. And now I'm going to wrap my talk about the way that I typically do. And I quote Pavlov. Pavlov said, if you want a new idea, you should open an old book. And I say that the book is written. The book was written over billions of years of evolution. And the text is the DNA of life. All we need to do is read the text, remember our history, and start our progress from there. And again, and I'm sure you know, your own national anthem. And in your national anthem, there is one very important line that actually bind us together. And you sing, our land abounds in nature's gift of beauty rich and rare. And I believe that this line is the one that describes the best our values, my own values, and my own research. And I hope that the hostages will come back and peace will be here, evident in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Oded. Wonderful. Right, we just got to get you to stop share screen, if you can. That's it. Oh, got you when we're back. We have been to the Research Centre with you a number of times over the years, and it's always a privilege to go there. And I'm just inviting people, if they want to ask a question, to push the reactions button and raise your hand, and we've got some time for questions and answers, etc., with the professor, if you'd like. But I'd just like to start that off, Oded, with, the production of the collagen out of the tobacco leaves. And prior to COVID, we were looking at reopening a tobacco farm up in the north of Australia, right up near the Cape, to produce collagen. And we're still, we got put off a bit by the closing down of the whole of the nation through COVID, but it's certainly still on the drawing boards. We saw on one occasion, I think, that you've actually used collagen for healing of wounds, of soldiers' wounds, as well as diabetes. Can you tell us some of its properties that may help with the healing of some of the soldiers that are obviously are being injured in the current situation?
So collagen, as I mentioned in my talk, is the scaffold on which our body is actually made of. So just like scaffolding. Now, when an injury occurs, whether as a consequence of diabetes or trauma, the body has the ability to cure itself using stem cells. They're called mesenchymal stem cells that are actually in every tissue of our body. We have some mesenchymal stem cells. And these mesenchymal stem cells needs a scaffold to grow. So if we don't supply the collagen, we will get wound healing, but typically it will be a big scar, and the scar formation obviously is something that we don't want to have, and therefore by providing the scaffold at the right spot, you significantly minimize, on one hand, the scar formation, and in addition, you actually promote the wound healing process. So it becomes much shorter. And it could be for many wounds. I can share with you that about 3 years ago, my son, Omer, who's, by the way, right now is fighting the war, and he has a really nice dog, the big British bulldog, and typically it's a really nice dog. I mean, harmful, but he came like from the back. My son came from the back and surprised him, so he gave him a bite. And this bite, I mean, the wound did not heal for like almost 10 days. So I offered the Omer to test the product, and it's like a miracle. Like, 3 days later, it was perfect. And because Omer is young, is only now 30 years old, and so he has lots of stem cells, and you can't see at all the scar. So this is something that I'm really proud of, and maybe also share with you some another interesting story is that my mother, rest in peace now, about 6 years ago, she suffered from diabetic foot ulcer, and she actually lost 2 of her toes in the past. And then she had another diabetic foot ulcer. So I offered her doctor, orthopedic surgeon, to try and use the product, because he just completed clinical trials. And he, of course, he said, let's do it. And he treated her, and the results were amazing. So I think you can only imagine what I felt. I'm working on something for, it was like 16 years almost. And the one person that enjoyed the fruits of my research is my mother. I mean, there is no better feeling than that.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful witness and testimony. Atan's got his hand up, and there's a couple of questions coming through on
go ahead with Kathy and Beth questions, and then I'll ask Oded something.
Okay. Kathy wants to know, is collagen cream commercially available for sale in Australia yet? And Beth wants to know, is the collagen relevant for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, whatever that is?
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Yeah, I am familiar with the syndrome. Okay, so the first answer, first question: is it available in Australia? And not yet. In any case, it's not sold. It's prescribed, and only a doctor is allowed to use it, because as I said before, the procedure requires also debridement of cells, and this is a procedure that is only done by medical doctors. But I hope that someone in the future will pick it up in Australia, and it will be available in Australia as well. You have your own regulatory authorities that need to be done. So that's one thing. And with respect to the syndrome, I'm familiar with the syndrome, and unfortunately, it is not helpful for that syndrome. This syndrome is a lack of production of, it's a genetic disease, lack of production of collagen. And unfortunately, it is not available. I mean, it doesn't help that syndrome. I think that the future cure for that syndrome you mentioned, the lack of production of collagen, is genome editing, which I think is coming up. It will eventually be available. There will be a cure. We just need to work more and harder. And
yes, work harder, Oded, fixing all these things for us. Atan, and then Guy.
And Jenny, is there any connection with 3D printing of organs and collagen? And then also Kathy said, I worked many years in leprosy rehab overseas. And Beth says, thank you to you, Professor. So here you are. So the question is about the connection with 3D printing of organs and collagen.
So yes, this is really exciting. In fact, we developed a collagen bio ink that can be used to print tissues and organs. I didn't mention that, but I mean, the technology was invented here in my lab at the Hebrew University, but it's now the license was taken by a company called Coldplant. It's an Israeli American company that is traded in NASDAQ, but all the research is done here in the Science Park across the street. And more recently, in collaboration with the AbbVie. AbbVie is a very large pharmaceutical industry. They develop new products, and the one that is really exciting in my view is a 3D printed breast implant for patients that suffer from breast cancer. And here we are still in a preclinical stage, but quite advanced. In fact, we just completed a very large preclinical trial in large animals, in pigs, where they already implanted a 200 milliliter a 3D printed breast, which performed really nice. And so I believe that in the near future we'll be already in the clinical stage. And then, of course, it will be available in the marketplace. So the way that we envisage that particular product is that once the patient is admitted to the operation room, she'll have a scan, and the doctor will make a decision on what exactly tissue he would like to remove based on the pathological data that he gets even during the surgery. And then all the information will be transported to the 3D printer that is sitting in the operation room, will print the missing tissue. While the process is taking place, the doctor will take fat tissue from the patient itself. It's called liposuction. And when that liposuction fat tissue, we extract adipose-derived mesenchymal stem cells. So these are stem cells of the patient itself. which are then introduced into the scaffold and then help accelerate the wound healing. And in a few weeks, actually, the patient develop his own breast implant, and the scaffold is completely dissolved and removed. So right now we do it with a breast implant, but I think that in the future, hopefully we'll be able to do it with many other organs, like kidney, liver, whatever.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, as we're running out of time, I can see Gay has a hand up, and the rabbi has asked also, can you clarify the relationship with the production of collagen and the waste products of Melodia Company? If I've said that wrong.
So that will be an interesting collaboration. I personally think that yes, and we certainly do research on combining cellulose and nanofibers with collagen, but it's still in its infancy, so it's still. But maybe in the near future, I'll be able to tell you something about that.
Exciting. Oh, okay, Gay, over to you. Unmute and ask a question.
Thank you much. Thank you so much, Dr. Oded. That was an amazing presentation, and I think you've answered a lot of my question already with your explanations. But if you've had a knee replacement already, as I did 5 years ago, when you need the replacement on the replacement, can it be done with collagen, and would it sort of follow that process of putting the scaffold on, etc.? Please.
So in the future, definitely yes. This is definitely will be feasible. The only reason why this is not done yet is we still need to overcome some of the load-bearing properties that are required for knee and orthopedic implants, and that is why right now we are really dealing more with soft tissues like breast and other. But there is no reason why it will not be done in the future for a total knee replacement that will have absolutely no synthetic material as part of the implant. This is definitely the future.
Wonderful. Okay, well, Atan, over to you to either comment, ask a question, and then we'll close out as we've passed our time. You're muted. Got to unmute.
Right, okay. So thanks, Oded, for this, as usual, amazing presentation. But what I'd like to ask you about the flexibility of the Israeli system, when now we know, for example, that you have the Food Science Center in the north of Israel, in Kiryat Shmona, ceasing at the moment operation because of the situation on the northern front. And also, how does it influence or makes an impact on the situation when you have to stop working in the labs and bringing you back, because at the end of the day, why I asked you today to speak to us, because there is a ceasefire. So in a way, during ceasefire, we should go back to normal and check researchers, check developments. How is the alternative provided to the teams in major labs in Israel?
So I have to say with really great content that today, more than 50 days after the beginning of the Hamas attack, we are already in full operations only 7 days after the attack. In the first week, I mean, we were really in shock, I have to say. I mean, we never expected anything like that. But as you remember, it all started in the holiday in Saturday. On Sunday, a week later, one of the companies that we established is called BioBetter, and BioBetter is in Tel Hai, which is like 2 kilometers from the border, and all the civilians and of course everybody up to 5 kilometers from the border were evacuated. So 100,000 people were evacuated, and we are unable to go and operate in the laboratories and everything. So it's fully shut down. But with the help of the army, we were able only 1 week later to get in, get a lot of equipment, all the reagents, and in 24 hours, we became fully operational in Yokneam, which is like about 30 kilometers south to the region. And so, yes, of course, we're still missing many of our employees, which were in the army. In this company in particular, about 50% of the employees are drafted. They had to go to the army. But the company is working in operational. Israeli economy and is very resilient. So I would say even surprisingly resilient to me, because we used to, I'm not that young anymore, and I used to complain about the young generation. They call them the TikTok generation, but it turns out that this TikTok generation is really amazing, and they fight, and at the same time they live. And you go to Tel Aviv even today in the evening, and you see many restaurants open. Yesterday, my wife and I went for the first time to see a movie in the Cinematheque. We saw a really nice French movie. So, life goes on, and the Israel is very resilient. And I have no doubt in my mind that we will prevail, simply because there is the good and there is the evil, and good always prevail.
Here, we agree. Amen to that.
Amen.
Oded, תודה רבה. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, Oded. Good to see you. Hopefully next year in Jerusalem we'll be back.
Look forward.
We'll infiltrate into your lab.
Yes, we will. So on that note, we'll close out the official part of the meeting tonight, and I'll close the recording and thank everybody for attending. I'll just shut that down.